our crazy Zoom live today. Thank you very much for your patience. We've been on Zoom for 2 years now, and this is the first time we managed to have a Zoom link that decided it did not want to work properly. So we had to kind of throw everybody off and start again and reconnect folks. So the joys of Zoom. So good afternonoon and welcome to the Willamette Women Dems. My name is Veronica Williams, and I have the honor of serving as president of W2D. Two of our mission goals are to provide programs that inform and to encourage women to be politically active. It is in keeping with these goals that we are very excited to be welcoming 9 candidates for county commission and other key offices in Clackamas, Multnomah, and Washington counties. We hope that you will all be ambassadors for voting, sharing what you hear today and encouraging your friends, family, and neighbors to vote in this very important election. But then actually, aren't they all? A few housekeeping matters. As you have joined us, we have muted your speakers and turned off your videos, except for our speakers. We do this to improve the overall quality of the transmission of the program and to help ensure that our speakers will not be interrupted by accidental noises at your end. So unless I specifically call on you, please do stay muted and with your videos off. Please feel free to put any questions for our speakers in the chat. After their remarks, we will be introducing elected officials and other candidates in the room. We will then get to your questions. When you look across this country at the battle for voting rights, I can't help but feel both blessed and frankly sad. Blessed because here in Oregon, it's pretty easy to register to vote. If you have a driver's license or an ID card, you're automatically registered. Our ballots are mailed to us. The return envelope is postage free, and there are ballot drop boxes located at well-known public places in our communities. And now if you forget and mail your ballot at the last minute, it still will be counted. And sad because we know that this May, a significant number of our neighbors will not vote. They take for granted the right and have no fear of losing it. But for democracies to be successful, they require the participation of all of us. We have seen that there are many in positions of power across our nation that have no problem if you stay home, don't send in that ballot, and leave the decision-making to the few and the wealthy. So please do your part. Use social media to support candidates. Encourage your friends to be informed and to vote. Chat with your neighbors, and maybe put out a sign or two in your yard or window. And remember, in parts of the world, people put their lives on the line every day for the freedoms we share, especially here in Oregon. We are very pleased today to have these wonderful candidates from the 3 counties. I am going to very briefly introduce each speaker, and each speaker will have 5 minutes. Please, like I said, put your questions in the chat and we will get to them as soon as we can. First, I would like to introduce Lori Stegmann, first elected to Multnomah County Commission in 2016 and re-elected in 2020. Lori is running for the position of chair. She is a small business owner and former Gresham City Councilor. Lori, the Zoom room is yours.
Thank you, Veronica. It's so great to be here with all of you. As Veronica said, my name is Lori Stegmann, and I serve as the Vice Chair of the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners. I'm an immigrant. I'm the first Asian American to ever serve on the board in 168 years. I grew up in the Rockwood neighborhood of Gresham, where I've been a small business owner for nearly 30 years. And I'm the only commissioner for the last 5.5 years who has worked collaboratively with the 5 city governments of Portland, Gresham, Fairview, Troutdale, Wood Village, and the unincorporated areas, which is no easy task considering the rural and urban areas that exist in my district. Those relationships have resulted in a $40 million investment in homeless services, plans for an East County Homeless Service Center with 50 beds of alternative shelter, 334 new units of deeply affordable housing, a food bank, and a partnership with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office's HOPE team to connect houseless residents to services. While we can all probably agree that homelessness and public safety are two of the most important priorities for our community, we need to implement solutions that address the drivers of these crises. I believe some of the root causes of these issues are due to generational poverty, trauma, shame, addiction, and racism. We must go upstream and offer people access to opportunities to make better choices for themselves and their loved ones. By making our communities stronger and safer is how we can reclaim lives and build community resilience. And one of the ways we can do that is by providing economic stability. As a Gresham City Councilor and Redevelopment Commissioner for 6 years, I championed the redevelopment of over 1,200 acres located in the Rockwood neighborhood, one of the most low-income and diverse neighborhoods in the county, where we assisted 40 new businesses to relocate there, added 700 new jobs with a $62,000 average annual salary, delivered on the construction of the Rockwood Public Safety Building, and increased access to affordable housing. We leveraged $80 million to provide community services like a daycare, medical services, workforce development organizations, and a market hall to address the food desert. We also received national attention for the Garage to Storefront program that helped revitalize our downtown core. And we were one of the first cities to build a net zero wastewater treatment plant, resulting in a savings of $500,000 a year to taxpayers. My experience in economic development will pay dividends as I lead the county's effort to redevelop nearly 90 acres of county-owned property that will be transformed into housing, a workforce center, and green space. And while my business and political experience are foundational to running a nearly $3 billion organization with over 6,000 employees at the county, it is my lived experience that enables me to lead with passion and with purpose. You may have heard of the famous Holt airlift where over 3,000 Korean orphans were adopted by American families. I was one of those babies. And while I am incredibly blessed to have been adopted by a loving family, we struggled with food and housing insecurity. But because I had access to public assistance at the most critical times in my life, I was able to break the cycle of poverty. And that's why I'm running. I want to ensure that everyone has those same opportunities to not just survive, but to thrive. It is clear that the systems and approaches that we've been using aren't working quickly or broadly enough. I have a proven track record of not just making good policy, but of actually implementing policies successfully. And I can tell you, you don't stay in business for 30 years without being able to execute your strategy and your vision. Those organizational skills are the foundation that I have built real world solutions on, like earning a $100,000 grant from the Gates Foundation to work on economic recovery, clearing the obstacles that resulted in a student-based healthcare center at Reynolds High School, which also provides mental health services for students, and co-sponsoring the Construction Diversity Equity Fund for pre-apprenticeships and workforce support for communities of color and women. While my accomplishments are important and prove my ability to get the job done, it is my vision that will transform our community. As chair, I will create an Office of Reentry Services to prevent people from churning through our criminal justice system. I will lead the charge to review and update our civil commitment laws and create a team similar to the Portland Street response to divert people out of the criminal justice system. I will create a 24/7 first responder drop-off site and detox center with urgency. I will create an economic development and workforce stability department to connect people to jobs and career training with us, the trades, and the private sector. I will advocate for the adoption of Portugal's approach to our drug crisis, where possession or use of any drug is considered a health issue, not a crime, and individuals are mandated to medical treatment, but drug dealing is treated as a criminal act. This approach has been proven to be more cost-effective than incarceration, and their drug-related death rates have plummeted. At the end of the day, Multnomah County is a business, and we need someone who has business management and operational experience to ensure the return on investment that taxpayers expect and deserve. If voters like the way things are going, then they'll probably vote for someone else. But if they want someone who is challenging the status quo, who has proven experience to bring real solutions to real problems, then I am the most qualified candidate. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you, Lori. Next, I would like to introduce Pam Treece. Pam was elected to the Washington County Commission in 2018, representing Northwest Washington County, and is seeking re-election. She has a diverse career and most recently has focused on regional economic development. Pam, welcome to the Zoom room.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Veronica, and thank you to Willamette Women's Dams for holding this. I also want to take just a quick minute and thank all of my fellow candidates for putting their name out there, for running for re-election, for running for new seats, whatever it might be. I'm really proud to be a part of this group. So welcome from me to everybody as well. As I was introduced, I started my term in 2019. And when I look back, some of the things that I am most proud of, I'd like to talk about for a few minutes and then talk about what I'd like to focus on in the future. When we started as a really new commission, one of our first real pushes was to start a diversity, equity, and inclusion program that worked into a resolution, that worked into an office of DEI. I am so proud of the work that our entire commission did, frankly led by Chair Harrington, to bring the equity lens to everything that we do. Our resolution not only said we are committed to this, it outlined how we were going to be committed to it, including opening the office, the hiring of a chief officer of DEI. It really focused all of our attention there. And when you take that and expand it into the hires we've made at Washington County in the administrative office, we have really transformed the county to a large degree. And this is a transformation that I anticipate will last for a very long time in the way that it was constructed. So that's the piece that I'm really most proud of. The second thing is we experienced the same thing that everyone on this call did. We were dealing with the pandemic. You know, we had our Zoom calls and the failures and the successes of those Zoom calls, but also we really recognized right off what we needed to do in relationship to supporting our businesses and our community. I look back and think about, you know, we go to the grocery store today and there are people handing out masks, but we all remember when masks weren't available and we were sitting at our sewing machines or ordering online and trying to get as many masks as we could. We worked hard to get PPE to our businesses, to our constituents, to make sure that they were safe during the pandemic. We also focused on economic development through the pandemic recovery with our CARES dollars and into our ARPA dollars by doing things like setting up business recovery centers with the help of our economic development managers throughout Washington County. That was a very successful endeavor. Through that endeavor and through our commitment to economic development, we've also hired our own economic development manager who works with the other city-led economic development programs to focus on our unincorporated area and our smaller cities. So the focus has really changed in Washington County, and those are just two examples of that. The other issue that is in front of us all as we sit on this Zoom call is the issue of houselessness. From houselessness to affordable housing, how are we accomplishing that? The county and the work that I've done along with my fellow commissioners has been around using the dollars that our voters ascribe to this problem to be able to start our affordable housing units, we see them coming out of the ground, and it's wonderful to see that. Also, to look at our shelter beds, to make sure that we're working not only as a county, but with the cities to develop opportunities for people to come off the streets. As one of my fellow commissioners said, and as many of you have heard, the sidewalk should not be the waiting room for shelters for our houseless individuals. And I believe that, and I ascribe to that strongly. The other piece that our pandemic, I say that like I want to embrace it, but I really want it to go away just like everybody else. But the other piece that has come forward is the light that has been shown on the issue of childcare in relationship to the fact that we are in a childcare desert. In 1984, I was hired by Pacific Power, and I had two main goals. One was to initiate a smoking cessation program. The other was to start a childcare referral. One was successful, one we're still working on. I know I'm running out of time. I want to talk about the fact quickly that climate is on my agenda for my next term. We really need to be addressing that. And also I want to put in a plug for our enhanced sheriff patrol district and our no on the repeal of our flavored tobacco ban. Thank you much for being here, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
I'm muted. There we go. Thank you very much, Pam. And next, I would like to introduce, one moment, please. I'm getting everything mixed up here. Libra Forde. Libra is running for Clackamas County Commission Position 2 to unseat the incumbent, Paul Savas. As an education advocate, she currently serves as a COO of Self Enhancement, Inc. Libra, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here with all of you guys, and just happy that you guys gave us space to actually speak about why we're here. Service is the rent we pay, right, for the privilege of living life on earth. And I think that we all know and recognize that as in the world that we're seeing, rent has increased. And so the service that we do is more and more important, but it's also more and more expensive for us to experience it as people that stand up. So thank you everyone for being here. Why am I running against an incumbent that's seemingly doing a good job after 12 years of being in that seat? I appreciate service, I really do. And I think that we all can appreciate anyone that sits in a seat that long. But I also know as a basketball player that even the best players need to be subbed out. And it is time. We need to give a new outlook, fresh eyes, fresh ears to that seat. I think that my experience as a COO in operations and systems, my experience as a mom to 3 superpowers that I absolutely adore, and of course, me being the chair of the North Clackamas School District and also on the Oregon State School Board and the Oregon Community College Association and many other state committees, I feel that I can bring that new eyes and the new ears and the new ideas to the commission. There are 3 things that need to be focused on, I feel, in my position and what I can bring: community-centered activity, collaboration, focused activities, and of course, capable leadership. We need to focus on people. The community is everything when it comes to commissioners. We are the closest to the people besides our city municipalities. So we need to make sure that all of our decisions are focused on the people that we serve. We need to do that with compassion. We need to do that with straight care. We also need to do that with an equity lens to make sure that decisions are representing all, and also making sure that we do no more harm to our marginalized community neighbors. Our community needs holistic review. We need to make decisions that don't just look at one thing in a silo, because no one experiences life in that way. And I feel that my experience in that work, in the community work I currently do, exemplifies that, where we look at one thing, but think about all the things that are connected. We need to have community outreach. No longer gone are the days for us to wait for people to come to us. We must build those relationships and bring people to a place that they're comfortable with, or we go to them to hear them out. Collaboration focused work takes us ending the infighting in Clackamas County Commission. Action needs to be over the oversight. We cannot look at emotions as being the degenerating feeling within a meeting. We need to build partnerships that are focused on infrastructure in that collaboration way, so that we can leverage dollars and use our budget dollars in a way that performs good governance as commissioners. As a military spouse, I've done this over the years. I have started my own school in Hawaii, and will continue to do more collaborative work with my history as a nonprofit leader. And last but not least, we need a capable leader. And my experience in all the things that I do now absolutely will bring some new energy to the board, elevate some of the things that have created some deficits in our commission. And I'm excited to bring my exemplary work with complex ideas to this commission. Last but not least, after years of being a military spouse, many people ask me, why did you pick Clackamas? Clackamas is a beautiful place. I'm excited to serve here. I'm excited to pay my rent in this place. I chose Clackamas because of its beauty. I chose Clackamas because of its opportunities. And I will never give up on Clackamas no matter what. We have not done well. There are many things that we can be excited about, and I want to be a part of us building that up. And I will say in closing, I would hope that you would visit my site. I will hope that you would volunteer. I will hope that you would step up and help me win this seat, because if it hasn't been already known, there's been no one of any color to ever run in Clackamas County, and I'm hoping to change that. We need to have representation in a big way. We need to have good leadership. We need to have the community focus. We need to have a collaboration, and I think that I bring all those things. Thank you for listening to me. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Libra, and please stay with us because I know we're going to have some questions coming up. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Kathryn Harrington. Kathryn was elected chair of Washington County Commission in 2018 and is seeking re-election. After 22 years in the tech industry, Kathryn served for 12 years as a Metro councilor before she ran for Washington County Commissioner chair. So Kathryn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Veronica, and thank you, Willamette Women Democrats. You've endorsed me in prior races. I am proud to join this group of women who you are helping to support in this May election. You'd think in the 21st century, it wouldn't be so hard for women to be leaders, but it's still very hard, and your support is so key. Thank you. I'm Kathryn Harrington, and I'm running for re-election as chair of the Washington County Board of Commissioners. I'd like to start with introducing myself, because the membership of Willamette Women Democrats evolves and changes from year to year. So growing up in a military family, I lived all over the country, from rural to suburban communities. Then over 30 years ago, high-tech jobs brought me and my husband to Washington County. There are few places where physical beauty meets business successes, where historic family farms and nurseries bump elbows with cutting-edge tech companies. Washington County is one of those places. As an employee with both large-scale and small-scale tech firms, I've seen the challenges and opportunities companies experience. More importantly, I've seen how working families succeed and struggle as companies boom and bust. The growth of industry has brought so many new opportunities for Washington County. But with that growth, we also have challenges: traffic congestion, rising home and rental prices, and strains on our public services. Watching the boom and bust of companies and its impact on our families and our community is why, in 2004, I decided to change careers. I wanted to give back to Washington County, my first true home. In my 3 years as county chair, I've delivered on affordable housing and homeless service solutions, expanded affordable childcare, directed economic relief to small businesses to create jobs, and shepherded growth in a manner here in Washington County that serves our way of life. I've championed equity in our policies and programs and expanded transparency and community engagement. I've also pushed for smart transportation options to reduce congestion and carbon pollution. And I've worked to protect family farms and nurseries which surround our communities. The chair of the county commission must shape our opportunities for the benefit of all, navigate our challenges so no one is left behind, and preserve what is so special about Washington County. I'm Kathryn Harrington, and I want to keep guiding Washington County forward. But I'd also like to take a moment to address with you a report making allegations about my behavior towards county staff. I believe in being fully transparent, and I share this news in the interest of just that. This is based on an employee personnel matter, and I take the protections of our staff and their faith in those protections very seriously. I stand by the principle that every employee should feel free to submit their assertions or complaints about workplace conditions, knowing that those concerns will be handled seriously, appropriately, and with full confidentiality without any risk to them. In any employee personnel matter, I take those protections of our staff and their faith in those protections very seriously. So unfortunately, we have a couple of people pushing this story, and they're the same people who opposed me in 2018. They're the same people who have opposed every step forward to progress I've tried to lead on the county commission, including critically important and widely supported measures, like stepping up to big tobacco and getting flavored tobacco out of the hands of Washington County kids. They fought my efforts to pursue policies that advance equity and fairness in our county governance. They've even tried to stop funding from going to the critical work of getting people off of our streets and unhoused. Now they're again opposing my reelection. It was unsurprising, yet disappointing to hear them vocally call for the disclosure of a report that would compromise the identities of county employees and could cause harm to them, all in the name of politics. Their false concern for county employees is pure politics. I'm grateful for the feedback. I've remained silent as this process unfolded because I respect the rights of employees to share this feedback without fear of retribution, to do so in the way they see fit. If these two commissioners could see beyond their partisan political vitriol, they might spend more of their time coming to the table and working to move our county forward, rather than fighting progress at every turn and putting our county's personnel in the middle. Please note this, I take no comfort in hurting anyone's feelings. I'm truly sorry that I've done that, truly. I believe that feedback is a gift. This report includes observations and sentiments that I have not had the benefit of hearing regarding the work environment of the Board of Commissioners, county administrative offices. I respect this feedback and the people involved. I'm grateful to know of this and to have the opportunity to evolve as a human, working on progress moving forward. I wish to commend our county administrator for advancing the workplace culture and expectations for an efficient, effective agency focused on implementing best practices in government. I'm grateful for their work. Two colleagues who see my work every day based on values and data support me steadfast. It is true that the work culture at Washington County is changing. I've ensured that we're doing our work transparently, modernizing policies, practices, and workforce expectations. Systems, formal and informal, were in place for decades without public service standards of performance, let alone excellence. Continuous improvement is now an expectation. I want to continue this ongoing transformation and bring Washington County up to the highest levels of performance as government. As you can imagine, there's resistance, but our community deserves it. My ongoing focus is on that critical work that needs to be done to deliver for Washington County families. Thank you. I forgot to set my timer, sorry.
That's all right. Thank you very much, Kathryn. We were expecting Sharon Marion. I have not seen her in the Zoom room yet. If you are there, you can speak up if you're under another name. Otherwise, I am going to move on right now to Sonya Fischer, who has been a Clackamas County Commissioner since 2017. Sonya is running for re-election. She's an advocate for people with developmental disabilities and an attorney with her own family law practice. Sonya, welcome to W2D.
Thank you, Veronica. It's so nice to be here with all of you. My name is Sonya Fischer, and I am running for re-election for County Commission in Clackamas for position number 5, so that we together can protect and preserve the quality of life that we so love in Clackamas County. So many of you know that I am the mother of a child who just turned 37, who has very significant developmental disabilities. My daughter, Christine, has been my compass, my guiding light. She's really been a force in my sense of purpose and advocacy. When I was a young mom going to college and she was denied services, educational services, that was just something that I couldn't accept as a young mother who was trying to get educated myself. And I first asked why. And when I didn't get an answer that seemed to make sense, I began organizing other parents, mothers and fathers of other children with disabilities who were also being denied these education services. So we organized and we organized and we pushed and we pushed, and we eventually, that whole system shifted those 34 years ago. It's that kind of fight and commitment that I bring every day to my work as a Clackamas County Commissioner. It's a part of asking the right questions, being determined. I've gotten a little bit more diplomatic over the years, maybe a little more annoying, but a little more diplomatic. But it's really just not accepting the status quo. It's really important. And when we're facing such challenging times as we have right now, coming out of the pandemic, with families struggling, with unprecedented levels of homelessness, with rising costs that create so much uncertainty, with concerns about the health of our planet and all the disasters and climate events, with all of this uncertainty, it's so challenging in and of itself. And yet in the midst of this, we have politicians. We have politicians on the Clackamas County Commission that seek to divide us. My view is to look at the people at the other end of every decision and look at the impacts. So what my focus has been, whether I go from rhododendron to Malala to Canby to all across our vast landscape, I hear the same message. Roofs over people's heads, jobs that pay a living wage, safe communities, clean air, clean water, and children who are thriving in our education systems. So with that, I am at it. I'm going for it. I'm going for another 4 years. And you know why? I'm doing it because we've made progress and we can continue to make progress. And these are the areas of focus: housing and homelessness. And you've heard from Commissioner Treece and Chair Harrington, we've made tremendous progress as a region. We have to keep our foot on the pedal and keep going. In Clackamas County, we've done very unique things, removing barriers, incentivizing building. We've removed red tape. We are moving the dial on housing and homelessness. Also, when it comes to governance, you look at what happened during the pandemic. We need to have creative problem solving. So in Clackamas County, some of the things that we've done is supported our small businesses through our chambers and recovery centers. We came up with innovative ways to go out in the community to reach families in crisis with an innovative process called Go Teams, which is now a model for the state for disaster preparedness. Fighting for infrastructure, libraries, parks, I-205, Abernathy Bridge, earthquake correction and expansion. That's a hot one because it's not easy to walk these lines when there are so many challenges with how that's going to be done and all the equity around that. But we are at the table and we're fighting for the residents of Clackamas County. Also, so important, protecting our natural landscape. Who doesn't love the beauty of our region? And in Clackamas County, we have a wealth of amazing agricultural and forest land worth protecting and preserving. But at the same time, looking at how do we grow responsibly and have room for everybody who wants to live here. So for me, I'm at it. I'm doing it. I'm going to hopefully be here for another 4 years. There's lots of forces out there that aren't so positive coming at me right now, but I'm in a room of women that, and some men, because I've seen your names on the screen, that really care. And I'm here to say we've got to keep me in Clackamas County to keep the conversation moving forward. Now, I may be a little annoying and ask a lot of questions, but those questions are the root of how we take your voices, amplify them, and make and keep Clackamas County the place we love. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, Sonya. I would now like to change a little bit of our direction and welcome Brian Decker. Brian is running for the position of Washington County District Attorney to unseat the current DA, Kevin Barton. Brian is a former prosecutor and public defender, and he is now with us. He was driving like crazy to try and be here on time, but I think he made it. So welcome, Brian, to W2D and the Zoom.
Thank you so much, Veronica, and thank you, Willamette Women Democrats, for inviting me here. The aforementioned and some men in the room. I'm so glad that you welcomed me here. Thank you so much. My name is Brian Decker, and as Veronica said, I'm running for district attorney in Washington County. I am a parent of a student in the Vose Elementary School in Beaverton, and I'm on the board of the PTO there. My wife is a professor at Portland State University, and my mom lives near us in Beaverton, just down the road from the elementary school. I was a federal prosecutor during the Obama administration, and I've been a public defender for over 4 years here in Washington County. I'm running for district attorney because I believe we need a change. Gun crime is up here in Washington County, and community trust in law enforcement is down. We're not doing enough to address the root causes of crime. Victims aren't getting the support they need, and we have a revolving door at the county jail. I have worked as a lawyer on all sides of the criminal justice system, and so I am able to see the way that it works and the fixes that it needs from many perspectives. I volunteered to represent domestic violence victims seeking restraining orders. Back in the day, I volunteered to represent detainees at Guantanamo Bay. As a public defender, I helped poor adults and children accused of crimes get access to justice, navigate the court system, and protect their constitutional rights. And as a federal prosecutor, I took on crimes like human trafficking, gun trafficking, and destroying natural resources. What I've learned is that prosecutors wield immense power. There's an immense responsibility that comes with the position of district attorney, and it goes well throughout the criminal justice system, but beyond, into policies and aspects of society that intersect with the criminal justice system. And that power can help or harm safety and justice in the community. I stand for several priorities. Number one, I want to prioritize prevention. What I've seen is that addiction, mental illness, homelessness, poverty more generally are primary drivers of crime. So smart public safety means getting out in front of these problems, preventing crimes before they occur. And hand in hand with that, rehabilitating nonviolent offenders away from incarceration and away from criminal behavior. I also believe in serving victims. I believe that those who have been harmed by crime deserve a voice in our justice system, no matter who they are. And very recently, my opponent has been in the news because his office declined to prosecute a man who was working as a nurse at Coffee Creek Women's Prison, and who is alleged to have sexually assaulted 27 women who are in custody there. And when asked about the office's decision to not prosecute them, the office's explanation to not prosecute this man, the office's explanation was that they couldn't believe these women, that their stories were not believable because they were felons. So who would believe them? Well, the United States Department of Justice answered that question by standing up and indicting this person, who the Washington County District Attorney wouldn't charge. And that's indicative, I think, of the need to make sure that we're listening to all victims and we're serving all victims who come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and are sometimes come from messy backgrounds. I think it's also indicative of our need for real public safety and accountability. I believe that nobody should get special treatment in the criminal justice system. No one's above the law. And we need to be treating each and every person with equal human dignity. I also stand for ensuring equal justice for all. My opponent has also been rebuked by Oregon's Court of Appeals for violating the Constitution because he struck a Black man from a jury panel when he was prosecuting a Black man, and he did it for racist reasons. That's prosecutorial misconduct, and I will promote the highest ethical standards in the office and address racial discrimination to ensure that everyone is treated fairly. I know that I can't make this happen alone, and so I pledge to be a collaborative leader. I know that certain communities experience more harm than others, both from crime and from the criminal justice system. And so I will engage with community and listen to advice on how to get things done.
I think you froze, Brian.
As well as the
There
Washington
you
County Democrats. Thank you. Veronica, I think you're muted.
So I am. Thank you very much. I think we got almost all of you. I think there was a sentence there that got cut off, but I think you were just finishing up. So if need be, we'll pick it up in a question. I would now like to introduce Kathryn McMullen. Kathryn is running for Clackamas County Clerk to unseat the incumbent Sherry Hall. Because there are only two candidates in this election, it will be contested in the November general election. But we wanted to give Kathryn an opportunity to speak to you all, especially because this is a particularly tough race. A lifelong public servant, Kathryn has been an elections administrator with Multnomah County since 2015. Kathryn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Veronica, and thank you, Willamette Women Democrats, for your support and for the opportunity to speak to you all this afternoon. My name is Kathryn McMullen. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm running for Clackamas County Clerk. I'm going to be on your November general election ballot. I ask for your support, your enthusiasm, and your vote to be the head election official for Clackamas County. In a time when our democracy is threatened by misinformation, gatekeeping, voter suppression, and bad actors, I ask you to use your voice to choose our elected leaders across the ballot, from the top to the bottom of the ticket, for both partisan and nonpartisan offices. Right now is both a time of opportunity and a time of challenge. Local elections officials like myself are threatened on the job. as well as think daily for our service to our community and to our country. Oregon's vote by mail system is tried and true. Much of the rest of the country learned this during the pandemic. Vote by mail works and broadens accessibility. We also know in Oregon that it doesn't work for everyone, as some more people in our communities face homelessness, economic hardship, and housing insecurity. The assumption that everyone can vote from home, in particular when there is no home, is a false assumption. I am certified by the Oregon Association of County Clerks as an elections administrator. I'm a lifelong public servant, a disability rights advocate, a proud union member, a wife, and a mother of two. For me, people are what make a community, and people are why I do this work. I was a public librarian for over a decade before making the move from books to ballots 8 years ago. I've since conducted 15 elections and led the only public voter education and outreach program of its kind in Oregon that ensured that voters with disabilities, seniors, veterans, English language learners, and young voters alike could each have their voices heard. And here in Clackamas County, my top priorities are to first rebuild trust between the citizen and their local government. I will protect voting rights and every eligible voter's access to the ballot. I'm going to stop the costly errors that have repeatedly come out of the current clerk's office. I will secure and safeguard our elections using tamper-proof technology to bring us into the 21st century and ensure accuracy and transparency. You know that your ballot will be counted in each and every election. As county clerk and head of the recording office, I will strike the racist language found in old property deeds and join other clerks across the state to officiate weddings for all couples without regard to gender, sexuality, or religion. In 2014, when same-sex marriage became legal in Oregon, the current clerk stopped officiating weddings and even for a time stopped signing marriage licenses, stamping them instead. A county clerk is required by state law to issue marriage licenses. They may choose to officiate weddings. I will choose marriage equality and officiate weddings again for all couples. Everyone should feel welcome in our community, and it's past time for the clerk to serve as the vital link between our communities and our government, and for us together, under my leadership as your new clerk, to open the doors of democracy to everyone. I'm well qualified and experienced candidate. I'm doing the work now, literally, but it badly needs to be done in my own county. I have decades of on-the-job experience. I'm community embedded, and I have a recent degree in public administration from Portland State University. I'm the right person at the right time to lead critical change in Clackamas County. But to do this, I have to win, and I need your help to ensure that I do. I'm up against an embedded right-wing incumbent who has used public funds to plaster her name on ballot materials for the last 20 years. And I need 89,000 voters to get to know me and then to vote for me to be county clerk in November. Every dollar raised gets us closer to this really ambitious and necessary goal. Make a donation today so that I can change our future. I'm fighting for the people of Clackamas County, and I'm campaigning in the same way that I will hold office. I'm leading with equity, inclusion, education, and access. I'm running a robust voter education program right now for this election, even though I'm not on the ballot. I'm reaching out to voters of all political parties, especially the new non-affiliated majority, and I'm doing this in 5 languages. I've been actively campaigning for 10 months already. So I'm building a movement that empowers people to have a deciding voice in local decision-making. And we need your help. We need your money, your time, and we need your vote, most importantly. I ask that you learn more about my campaign at clackamasvoice.org, and I ask that you make a contribution today, and then that you vote for me in November. I really appreciate the time to speak with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathryn. We appreciate your running. We appreciate that this is a very tough race. And so I'm glad that we could highlight you now, even though you won't be on the May ballot. But we want people to know about you and be thinking about you and talking about you with their friends and neighbors also. And now I would like to welcome Jessica Vega Pederson. Jessica was first elected to the Multnomah County Commission in 2016 and reelected in 2020. and she is running for the position of chair. She previously served 2 terms as the Oregon State Representative for House District 47. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you, Veronica. It is great to be here today with Willamette Women Democrats. It's great to be here also with so many wonderful candidates. And I have to say, Kathryn is doing such a great job. I got a postcard to vote for her, and I don't even live in Clackamas County, so she is getting the word out there. And also, if anybody needs to take a little stretch break at this point, go ahead and feel free to do that. So I'm Jessica Vega Pederson. I use she, her pronouns. And when my husband and I got married and we were ready to start our family 16 years ago, we bought a house in East Portland. At the time, I was a technology business project manager, and my husband had started a small business. East Portland was a place that we could afford, and it was also a place where we knew we could be part of the community. And we've been in that house ever since. It's the same house, same block, but it is a rapidly changing community. It's an area made up of people all over the world who are working hard to better our community, but a lot of times are just working hard to keep their heads above water. Each of us here today cares about our region and our people. And we know that Multnomah County needs strong leadership today at this critical inflection point that we're at. We need a leader who feels the challenges our county faces, who sees the path forward, and who will weave together a coalition to meet this moment and to create the change that we need. That's why I'm running for Multnomah County Chair, because it's exactly what I've been doing right here in our community for the past 16 years. And it all started in East Portland. I ran my first campaign for state representative on sidewalks and on the dangerous speeds that people drive through my East Portland neighborhood. And it turned out that seemingly small issue of sidewalks was actually part of a much bigger one. Community came together to support my first campaign. And together we got sidewalks and a whole lot more for the people of East Portland. I have brought that power building approach to every issue I've tackled, both at the state legislature as the first Latina to serve in the Oregon House and on the Multnomah County Commission. In Salem, I championed initiatives to bring paid sick leave to every Oregon worker, for retirement security that would ensure that fewer people, particularly women, will face poverty as they age, and to raise Oregon's minimum wage. I championed a person's right to make their own healthcare decisions, including abortion and birth control, LGBTQIA equity in healthcare and the legal system, educational investments from preschool to higher ed, and to extend fair tuition and financial aid for dreamers. And at Multnomah County, I have worked to ensure cleaner air and a countywide commitment to renewable energy. I've worked with neighborhood associations, small businesses, and schools to successfully site new shelters and supportive services in my district, including the Laurel Wood Shelter, which is now a model looked at for replication in Washington County. I fought to get better COVID response and resources for our BIPOC communities most impacted by the pandemic. And I'm probably most proud of my work to lead the coalition that delivered Preschool for All. My desire to expand preschool came from the experience of my mom as a young Mexican-American girl. When my mom was in the 4th grade, she earned the highest score on a district-wide aptitude test. And this is the kind of score that should have put my mom on a trajectory to college. But because she was a Mexican-American kid who wasn't expected to succeed, she or her parents didn't even learn about that score until years later. And it didn't change her trajectory the way it should have. I was so angry when I first heard this story. My family has always worked hard to succeed, but I know it shouldn't be so difficult. And I know these same inequalities have continued to impact generations of kids. That's why I championed Preschool for All, and I'm so proud of the work, the way that work has paid off. It is changing what's possible for kids and workers, including those like my mom. I believe that our best future lies not only in what we do, but how we do it. Time and time again, I have proven that I can and do get big things done. And I always make sure that the people impacted by policy are at the table in creating it. In these next 4 years, Multnomah County needs to meet its challenges using that same collaborative leadership. Right now, we are at an inflection point. We have a housing and houselessness crisis in our region like we have never experienced before. We have a moral imperative to address both community safety and systemic racism, and our work to combat climate change can't happen fast enough. We need comprehensive solutions that address the urgency of these issues before us. And because we have limited time today, and I don't know how many questions we're going to get to, I encourage each of you to visit my website, jessicavegapederson.com, to get a fuller sense of my vision for Multnomah County and learn more about my detailed plans and ideas for addressing homelessness and our many other issues our region faces with transparency, accountability, and partnership. I will say it again, we are at an important inflection point. I have the experience and track record of accomplishment to meet this moment and lead Multnomah County in the right direction from day one. As a Latina, a technology professional, a mother, I also have the life experience to lead with compassion by centering those impacted most by the inequalities we face. And I have a huge group of people who I know are with me in this fight. I have the support of over 100 organizations and community leaders in this race, including AFSCME, UFCW, Portland Firefighters, APANO, Latino Network, Oregon League of Conservation Voters, Portland Association of Teachers, Oregon Working Families Party, SCIU, AFL-CIO, Secretary of State Shemia Fagan, Governor Barbara Roberts, Commissioner Carmen Rubio, Representatives Con Pham, Dacia Graver, Andrea Salinas, and so many others joining me in this work. And today I ask your support in helping me win this race for Multnomah County Chair, to be the first person of Latinx descent elected to chair. I want you to join this strong, diverse coalition with your insights and your passions and your dreams so that together we can build a thriving and equitable Multnomah County for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessica. So a couple of things. I do have some questions for folks, but we certainly always encourage our listeners to put in questions. So if you want to throw some in the chat, I'll take a look at them and try and work them in with some of our other questions. As several of the speakers today have mentioned, they really do need your support. So I encourage you to go to their websites. And if they have not done so already, they should please feel free to drop their websites into the chat so that you can learn more about them and support them as you see fit. But we certainly encourage involvement in campaigns and encourage you to share information about all of these wonderful candidates. I would now like to introduce some of the existing elected officials who are in our Zoom room and some other candidates who were not on our program today. So to begin with, it's my pleasure to welcome State Representative Courtney Neron. Courtney is running for re-election, and we're very pleased that she makes it to our W2D meetings as much as she can. So welcome, Courtney. I'd also like to welcome Neelam Gupta. She is a Lake Oswego Lake Oswego School Board member and is running as a candidate for House District 38, which is Lake Oswego and parts of Portland. Also in the room with us today is Terry Rigsby. Terry is a director on the Multnomah Soil and Conservation District, and she is running as a candidate for Metro District, I believe it's 6. And in the room with us is Valerie Pratt, Tualatin City Councilor, and our favorite former state representative, the amazing Margaret Doherty. Hello, Margaret. Wonderful to have you with us. So with no further ado, I am going to try and move to some questions. And we don't have a long time, so if I ask the question, if you can try and squeeze it in within a minute, I would really appreciate it. I'm sorry that that's fast, but we do the best we can. So the first question is for Jessica and Lori. So the question is, the county has lost over 12,000 residents, and I'm not sure over what time frame that is, but what implications, and other than freeing up some housing demand, does this loss have for county government and the local economy? And Jessica, why don't you go first, and then Lori, please.
Yeah, I think that we have seen a loss in a lot of urban areas all across the nation because of COVID, as people are looking at where they're going to live because of teleworking and a lot of things. So I think it's something that we're seeing, but it is something that I take really seriously. I always say, as Multnomah County Chair, I want Multnomah County to be an employer of choice. I want Multnomah County itself to be a location of choice for people. And to do that, I think we need to make sure that we have a place that is livable for folks. We have to make sure that we are a place where people can move, they can afford to live there, that it's a place where people can have an easier time starting businesses and getting the assistance that they need to be able to live here and grow and thrive. We need to have a strong educational system. And we really have to work together to this. I bring both 10 years as a public servant and 14 years before that in the private sector. And I know that we really do the best work when we work together publicly and privately to invest in our communities and try to solve the problems before us. So, you know, when we look at the Multnomah County that we want to create and creating that place where we want people to move to, we definitely need to be doing it in partnership. And I think at Multnomah County and as chair, one of the best things that I can do is making sure that we are being transparent, accountable, and communicative to people about the role that we have and the work that we're doing at the county to address housing and homelessness, to address community safety, to build an education system and provide services that we do, so that we can be working together to make sure that Multnomah County is that place that people want to come.
Thank you. Lori?
Thank you for the question, Veronica. Yeah, I mean, it is devastating. We have seen the exodus of folks from Multnomah County and frankly to some of our other counties who are with us this evening. And something called the business income tax, we received a huge fall bump that allowed us to put $40 million into homelessness. So when we see people leaving Multnomah County, they're taking their businesses as well. And we know that there are significant challenges in the downtown core area as we look at economic recovery. And I know how to revitalize an area because I've done it with our downtown core. Like I had mentioned, the garage to storefront program. We have to provide incentives for people to want to start a business here, to live here. And we all know that there's a workforce shortage. More than in my part of the district, more than 70% of the folks that live out here commute out of our, out of the east side of the county. And so that has big repercussions on environmental justice, on jobs, on equity. So we really have to do a better job to entice people to want to stay here. And we have to build up our downtown core area. And I know how to do that. That income that stays in our city will help support our services so that we can help support our community members.
Thank you very much, Lori. This question is for Pam Treece and for Kathryn Harrington. So we'll start with Pam first. Are there some missed policy opportunities that you would still like to pursue in the next 4 years? And how do we improve collaboration with the cities within the county, the rural areas, and the neighboring communities? Pam?
Thank you for that question, Veronica. The first part of it, are there missed opportunities for policy issues? And I think, and I know the chair would agree with me on this, that in this coming year, we are looking at a new strategy development. And part of that strategy development is going to be addressing climate issues. So because, and this was on our plate, frankly, for my term previously, but with the pandemic and with other issues, we did not proactively work on the strategy. The strategy is going to include a large component that will be focused on climate strategy. We have lots of constituents, obviously we all do, who are very interested in addressing the issues where we can make a difference. We need to do this, we have to do it. And it is certainly on my list, my big to-do list for the coming term. The other question that you asked is how do we build collaboration with the cities? How do we work toward common goals? Is that correct, Veronica?
Yes.
Thank you. I think that we have opportunities where we meet as the other counties do as well with our mayors. And we also meet with the city council people in a variety of ways. But I believe that we meet under the umbrella of need. For example, again, the chair and I are sitting on a childcare summit that has been pulled together by Mayor Lacey Beatty. We're looking at how can we leverage the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District? How can we look at private sector? How can we look at the public sector to start meeting the needs of this childcare desert that we're in? The other way that we do it is by collaborating around our shelter development and looking at how we develop shelters for our homeless as we move through to transitional housing and then move into the affordable housing that we're building as we speak. So we have a number of cities, as all the counties do, but it is important to continue those conversations. And we have, again, some systems that are built in, like our coordinating councils, where we talk about transportation issues, but we need to continue to work in that collaborative sense. I especially feel that because in my district, I have a large percentage of urban and unincorporated, and I need to be working with the cities to make sure that all services can be reached for all constituents. So over to you, Kathryn.
Thank you. Kathryn?
Thank you. So Commissioner Treece hit the topic hit the nail on the head. Are developing a community engaged county strategic plan for the 21st century. That is one of the things that I campaigned on when I ran for this office and in 2019, and the only one that we haven't been able to get to. And that is, as she said, because of the delay and pause caused by the global pandemic. So I'm just we are going to initiate that later in the year. It will be a multi-pronged, multi-year effort throughout our community. With regard to things for improving collaboration with cities, counties, rural area. So Commissioner Treece and I have been two of the most engaged members of our 5-member board of commissioners. You probably haven't seen the amount of time that we have been involved in hiring new management at Washington County. An interim CAO, a national search with a new county administrator, a new county council, 4 new assistant county administrators, and then some. So what this means is, I know with that new hiring, but also with all of the business practices that did not exist prior to our tenure, and that includes for the work that we do as the Board of Commissioners, it's been a huge lift, much bigger than I ever imagined. We're doing a good job of getting Washington County on the road for modernization. It's a new day at Washington County, but there is more work to do. And one of the things that I know I can do differently is by virtue of having that new level of support, I will have a lot more time to be able to engage with each of our elected bodies here in Washington County that I frankly, between the amount of work that needed to be done, plus the pandemic, talk about a stressful 3 years, especially the last 2. So I'm looking forward to doing just that, collaborating differently and continuing to move Washington County forward together. Thank you for the question.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I have a question, if I can find what I did with it. Thank you. For just Brian Decker, a question for you. Do you want to talk a little bit about the public defender shortage? Certainly an area that you have personally experienced, but what is the role of the DAs in working on this issue? Because many of us believe that one needs a balanced justice system, which means you need good public defenders. Would you like to talk about that, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think a balanced justice system is absolutely essential. We need to have good people working in all of the positions of the justice system, and we need to have full resources for all the positions of the justice system. And yeah, I've been on the front lines as a public defender in the courts, seeing how strained our system is, and it's only gotten worse as a crisis in recent months. We've had a report from the American Bar Association say that we have such a shortage of public defenders in Oregon that we only have about a third as many as we need. And the public defenders that we do have are paid nowhere near the same salaries that prosecutors are paid across the state in Oregon. Here in Washington County, the discrepancy is on the order of 30% shortage. And it's really essential to have public defenders sticking up for people's rights in courts. Most people might not know this, but most people who are charged in the criminal courts cannot afford their own attorney, and so have somebody appointed for them. The district attorney is in a position to be a collaborative leader and bring partners together to solve tough problems like this. Unfortunately, what I've seen out of my opponent, the current district attorney in Washington County, is finger pointing, calling that ABA report fantastical, and saying that public defenders are just not showing up in court. And that's not what we need. I think that a district attorney really should be the captain of the criminal justice system. That's the powers that we've entrusted to that position. And that means making sure that we run cases much more efficiently. We don't need to have cases waiting around for months and months, people sitting in an overcrowded jail and overcrowded courtrooms for months and months before they get access to justice and access to the resolution that is going to put them on the path to rehabilitation. We can revamp programs and maximize specialty courts and rehabilitation programs in order to deliver people into those problem-solving outcomes much more efficiently and alleviate the burdens that this bloated system has caused.
Thank you, Brian. A question for Kathryn McMullen. As new county clerk, what specific changes are you looking to make in the county clerk's office? That is certain, kind of the top problems or challenges that you want to address.
Great, thank you for the question. So first and foremost, I'm going to start communicating with my voters for the first time and provide information and resources and do outreach and get within community to make sure that everyone has a voice and can access the ballot in the same way. I'm also going to be working to bring in new technology that adds accuracy and transparency to our elections. Something as simple as a system that sends you a text message that lets you know that your ballot's been sent to you, and then you get another message whenever it's been received by the county clerk, and then a final one to know that your ballot's been counted. Is something that's long overdue in Clackamas County, and it's something that's very straightforward. We're going to be adding more checks and balances in elections administration to make sure the mistakes that are happening just from incompetence aren't happening anymore. And also importantly, I'm going to work to provide homeowners with a path to removing racist language from their covenances and deeds before the home buying process starts. So if you're a home seller or a home buyer, you're not surprised when you look at the materials for the deed for the property that you're buying. This is that you're not allowed to live in the property that you're actually buying. Removing that, and then officiating weddings again. As I mentioned before, the current county clerk stopped officiating weddings when same-sex marriage became legal in Oregon in 2014. And I think that local government has a right and responsibility to treat everyone in our community with the same respect and dignity across all county services from voting to marriage to real property transactions. So there's so much opportunity for change, and I'm looking forward to getting started. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, Kathryn. So Libra Forde had to leave because she has a school board meeting, which is starting probably in a couple minutes. So she's headed off in that direction. But I do have a question for Sonya as soon as I can find it. Hang on for just a second. Sorry, but I have too many things going on one little screen here. So Sonya, there was an article in, I guess, yesterday's Lake Oswego Review talking about the opioid crisis and how it is impacting Clackamas County, specifically that opioid hospitalizations had risen 18%. And I don't have the numbers for other counties, so I'm not picking on your county. I'm just really talking about what is the role of the county responsibility in terms of these kinds of epidemics that have been affecting the entire country. And is there a role for the county commissioners in collaboration with law enforcement and public health, county public health?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And absolutely the answer is yes, 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 and yes. So first of all, in regards to the opioid crisis, when I became a commissioner, I helped facilitate our involvement in a lawsuit against pharmaceuticals, which other jurisdictions ended up joining. It all was consolidated. That lawsuit just recently settled. We are going to, in Clackamas County, get an additional $13 million to help us with the opioid crisis over several years. What the county has right now are a number of programs that have been under-resourced and underfunded. So certain things like services to divert in law enforcement to help people. We also we've had enough of the pandemic, but our first responders, paramedics that go after there's been an overdose to do follow-up case management, really check in. That program is called Project Hope. We have our Health, Housing and Human Services has an initiative to create awareness and prevention for the opioid crisis. So and I could go on with the list of things that we currently do to help address this. But this is so serious. This is a state crisis. Oregon is the worst place in the nation for substance use disorder treatment. We rank the end of access. We have people who need access and can't get it. So the role of the county, it's a lot of advocacy with our state partners. And I'm looking at Jessica Vega Pederson, Lori Stegmann, Kathryn Harrington, Pam Treece. We do this advocacy. And I can tell you my opinion. I'd love to hear from my other commissioners here, but I know we don't have enough time to do all of this. But Measure 110, which re-diverted things, decriminalized, and said, hey, look, you can get a citation, or you can go to get a drug and alcohol evaluation. That's not working. People aren't taking the system up on that. So this is a problem. And we're working with our staff to come up with our 10-part plan of what we need the state to do to address this issue. And you better know it. We'll be shopping it around with our county regional partners. And Commissioner Treece there, I am currently the chair of what's called District 8. Doesn't that sound cool? It's the Association of Oregon Counties. And we have addressed Measure 110 in our last meeting. We're going to be addressing the substance use disorder as a region moving forward. And there's a lot for us to do, but we need people, we need our constituents to join us in this advocacy so that we have more strength in tackling this problem with the urgency that it demands. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, Sonya. So we are a bit over time, but I do want to close out with a few words. Just a moment here, if I find it all. I'm gonna find it. There we go. Okay, so just some announcements, please. After 2 years on Zoom, our May 12th program will be held in person. We will be gathering together at our former meeting place at the Celebrate Conference Center. For those of you new to W2D, since we've been meeting on Zoom, it is located where I-5 and Highway 217 intersect in the homeowners building at the bottom, kind of adjacent to Trader Joe's in Lake Oswego. Our guests will be Deborah Smith Arthur, a juvenile law attorney and associate professor at PSU. She is the co-founder and director of PSU's Higher Education in Prison program. Her co-presenter will be Linnell Rose, a member of the Warm Springs tribe and a student in this program while she was incarcerated at Coffee Creek Correctional Institution in Wilsonville. Please watch for the announcement and all the details, and please be sure you RSVP. Then on June 2nd, put that date on your calendar for our always fascinating election review with Professor Jim Moore. He will be covering statewide races, the important congressional district primaries, and of course, more on our local metro and county contests. This is a week earlier than usual, so it will be the first Thursday, so please make a note of that because we are looking forward to seeing all of you. Also, watch your email for notice of Willamette Women Dems endorsed candidates. We have made endorsements in a number of the nonpartisan local races, and we want to share those endorsements with you. Please note that W2D does not endorse in partisan primary races for state and federal positions. Another save the date is June 26th, Sunday. W2D will be hosting our annual fundraiser on the lake. Please mark your calendars and watch for all the details. We hope to have some outstanding people that we will be honoring at that fundraiser, and we know it's an event you will not want to miss. Commissioner Sharon Marin was not able to join us until the very last minute, and we are at the end of our program, but I will invite Sharon to drop into the chat information about her website, and I encourage you to go there for details about her policy and her positions and a little bit about her history, and we're sorry that she was not able to be with us at the beginning of the program. Again, I cannot emphasize how important every vote is. So please continue to stay informed and be an ambassador for voting among your friends and acquaintances, and do vote. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in person in May. Have a wonderful evening.
Great job, Veronica. Thank you.